This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 561 of the Eventing Radio Show, brought to you by Eventing Riders Association of North America. This week on the show, we speak to Jenny Autry, who's recently been named as the USEF Managing Director of Eventing. I'm Liz Halliday-Sharp, coming to you this week from Rancho Santa Fe in California.
And this is Paul Tapner coming to you this week from the very much not sunny UK. And you are listening to the Eventing Radio Show. So, Liz, you've made the big move back across the pond to the United States, where you are now permanently based. You've permanently left me from this very, very muddy place.
Yeah, I've heard the weather is less than savory at the moment, so I'm not.
Yeah, we have been flooded for about 2 months, pretty much.
It just sounds horrible. But yeah, no, it's been a really, really crazy few weeks for us. I mean, we literally hit the ground in Ocala about 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks today. And then the next week, I really thought I must be crazy, but I went and competed a nice young horse in the CCI 2-star long at the Ocala Jockey Club, which was fantastic, but a little bit mental in the mix of everything. And yeah, we've just been back and forth. We've been to Kentucky to see our place there. And we're now in California, just visiting my mom for Thanksgiving. And I'm not very good at taking time off in the winter. I'm not good at taking time off ever. So I'm sort of sitting here drumming the table going, I'm ready to get back to work. I'm ready to get back to everything. So I'm trying to teach myself to have some chill time, but it's a struggle.
Well, surely, it's Thanksgiving. Surely you've just had some chill time and some family time and all that sort of thing. Did you wind down a bit?
Well, yeah, I mean, we had a really wonderful meal yesterday. I've got some family here visiting, and yeah, we had a really nice time, and we were all in a food coma by about 9 p.m. So we're up and running today, ready to do some exercise and hang out and try and spend some more family time together. So I'm doing my very best. I am. But,
You're doing your best to have some downtime, because it is the downtime. This is eventing's off season. A little bit in Australia and America, sometimes the off season gets a little bit blurred, and you just keep going through there because you have such nice weather. But actually, in Europe, it's very, very defined. The season starts April, goes through to end of October. So we're at the end of November now. So everybody's had a month off now. Some people are still doing some indoor shows, but that's not really eventing. It's just show jumping. But we put some indoor eventing, put some arena eventing in there as well. So all sorts of fun things like that going on over the winter. And the US scene, is it completely wound down now for December, or is there still stuff going on?
I think it's all done now, as far as I'm aware. But it really doesn't give us much time off. It's sort of like a month of no eventing, and then we kick off again in early January. So my plan probably is actually to run some of the young horses in the early part of the year, because then when things get a lot busier with the older horses as we build up to the summer, then I can give them a little holiday then. So it's a little bit about planning. But it does just keep going forever, which I suppose suits someone like me because I like to be busy, but at the same time, you can't just run yourself into the ground. So it's finding a good balance.
Well, and as we found out from speaking with our guest this week, Jenny Autry, there's no rest for all of the administrators of our sport. They are all deep into planning and deep into analysis. And one of the things that's just happened early in November was the FEI, our international governing body, had their AGM, so their annual general meeting, where they get every delegate from all the way around the world, all coming down to about what discipline they are. They all went to Moscow in Russia and had their general assembly there, and all of the rules for the following year get voted in. So of course this is where we learn what changes are going to happen for next year. And I know this is really hugely popular and popular controversy is the fact no more top hats in dressage.
I know, I did see that, and actually, do you know what? I'm on board with that. I myself have been wearing a helmet for FEI dressage, for a good while now. I'm not even sure how long, maybe 5 years. And I know it was something where a few riders were taking a stand ages ago. And now I think this is the way our sport is going. And we're trying to send a message to the younger riders of the world and everyone coming up through the grades that, it is important to protect your brain bucket, as we would say. And, you can fall off warming up for dressage or doing your test just like you can any other time. We've seen some really top riders suffer some really large detrimental injuries when they were just riding on the flat. And like I say, I think it's a message to everybody and coming up through the grades and moving into a sort of a safer sport, so to speak.
Indeed. I mean, it actually was around about 2011, 2012 when the change started to happen. It started to become high-profile riders stopped wearing their top hats in both pure dressage and indeed eventing dressage. And I have to say, I was one of the leaders in that, and two reasons. One, because I believe in it wholeheartedly, and I have done. I never let anybody on my yard, including myself and anybody who works for me, even if they don't work for me, nobody on my yard is allowed to sit on a horse at any time without a crash hat on. And that has been instilled in me for a very long time, and I'll share with our listeners why that is. As a young lad, there was a mate of mine called Guy Wallace, and Guy had a fall at a competition, knocked his head, had some headaches, had a lot of problems, but he was the type of guy that he didn't ride with a crash hat at home. And he was, a few weeks later found led unconscious in a field, having been riding his horse out in that field, and he's been basically in a fairly vegetative state ever since. And indeed, geez. He was a guy my age in our early 20s and winning at the top level, at the high performance level, and it just really it shook the whole eventing community out in Australia all those many years ago, back in the 90s, and letting people know how old I am now. Ever since then, that's been my thought. And so when actually people started to not wear their top hats and wear a crash hat, I was very much pro it, and I was probably, I think, one of the first two, if not the first, and maybe the second rider to do so at badminton, to wear, and indeed at Burghley, to wear a crash hat. And it was, I remember it was about 2011, 2012, because that's where the London Olympics were, and Charlotte Dujardin famously really brought it into the spotlight by not wearing a top hat in pure dressage in the London Olympics. And so slowly, here we are 6 years later. It was quite remarkable how slow we equestrian people can be to take up on our own personal safety. It's finally become a rule whereby you have to now wear the crash hat, and I used to be quite obnoxious and vocal on social media and say, look, let's get rid of the tails as well. I hate top hats. I hate tails. Get rid of the tails. Why are we wearing all these stupid ties,
I like tails.
Jackets? And that's exactly the response. And the amount of vilification I received back on social media for voicing this opinion, everybody going, no, we will love tails, we need the tails, and don't take away our right to ride in tails and all that sort of thing. I was like, yeah, I know, I get that, I love tradition, I do like tradition, I respect tradition, but actually sometimes I don't like tradition when it's holding our sport back, and we're not seen as a sport if we're wearing top hats and tails. No other sport is going to wear that type of kit. You wear clothing appropriate to enhance your performance. And I'm sorry, a top hat and tails and a tie certainly does not enhance my performance when I'm riding in dressage. I'd far prefer to be wearing something else. And indeed, then they were saying, I remember Mark Todd saying, what, you want me to ride around in skins now, do you? And I was like, well, actually, fast forward now, and the vast majority of riders going cross country do actually wear skins. They do appreciate the fact that it is actually, performance enhancing to a degree. So, it's amazing how these things metamorphosize, would that be a word? I don't know, themselves into existence. But also, how these things get discussed on social media. And I think that probably brings us on to our next topic, Liz, because you were voicing an opinion to me earlier about social media and perhaps the way it's being used quite recently with some recent examples in the US.
Well, I think so. I'll be a little careful how I deliver this, but so social media is a big part of what we do, and it's become a big part of sport. It's something that personally, I'm not someone who voices my opinion every 5 minutes on social media, whereas many people I know do, but that's not my thing. But however, I am involved in social media because I know it's very important to my sponsors. It's important to my business, in various different ways like that. So we have to stay involved. I think that is important, and it's a big part of sort of how advertising works these days, and how sponsors improve their sales, is having support on social media. It's what our culture is. But there is a time when I think sometimes everyone needs to take a step back and think before they write, so to speak. I think it's a little bit like, when you send that email to someone and you're angry. And my mother taught me years ago that you never write it with anybody in the address bar. Just write the letter, say everything you want to say, and then close your computer and go and read it the next day. And then you'll find that you censor it, and then you can put that person in and send it. And I think a little bit people need that mentality when something does upset them on social media, or they're upset about, a new concept or a certain person or anything, how an event has dealt with something. There is a time and a place in a correct way to deal with this. And I think where we've led to is everybody is just spouting opinions and getting angry and throwing things out on social media without thinking about any repercussions or how it's going to be taken from the other side, or how it makes themselves look on a professional manner. And I feel pretty strongly about this. I think everyone needs to take a deep breath and just think before they post. That's just what I'm saying.
Indeed, there's so many different things we can say. Like you say, that's a great example of write the letter, but then sleep on it overnight and reread it before you send it. And certainly that was something that used to be said when we used to handwrite letters. Would be the same thing. You don't actually send it until you've slept on it overnight if you're writing a letter in anger. But an email, like you say, in the address bar can be the same thing. I was always taught, if you don't have anything nice to say about anybody, then don't say it. Just that was, you only publicly sprout, the nice things. Don't bother saying vilification things or bad things about somebody. But there's always two sides to every story, and everybody's allowed to have an opinion. But I think it's when those opinions are clouded by prejudices, your previous opinion of someone. So let's pull an example out there. And I love, within my master's team, we love calling it Whipgate. All right. So last year, not Watergate, but we had the eventing Whipgate version, and prolled Oliver Townend. He was waving his whips around on his horses at badminton, trying to press them to win that Grand Slam and to win he was winning everything at the time, and he was he was pushing the horses hard, and he sort of forgot that there was a bird up in the sky, camera up in the sky, looking down on him the whole time, and he pushed these horses when he perhaps thought not everybody was watching, and he got a little bit unfairly treated by the BBC in terms of the way they edited the program, and then he got himself very much in a bit of a bother by the way he answered the interview on BBC, which did him no favors whatsoever. And I suspect if he watched that back now, he'd probably want to crawl under a stone and go, "Oh, you idiot, Oliver, what the hell did you say that for?" But the amount of people that came out and abused Oliver for being and he's the most terrible person in the world. No, he's not. He's a human being. He was just trying to do his best by these horses, and trying to do his best by these owners, and trying to do his best by his whole career. Okay, it might have been a little bit beyond what some people have the opinion he should have done, in which case, guess what? He got official warnings, and then there was lots of people that said he should have official warnings, and he did. So yes. That's fine. It was dealt with. The system
did its job. Yeah,
the system did its job. And if we're thinking the system is not good enough, then that's fine. That doesn't make Oliver a bad person. It just means we need to be vocal about making the system better, which some people were. And actually, it's nice to know in the most recent AGM, which we quickly talked about, the FEI and at General Assembly, that the sanctions against riders have been, updated. The process for recorded warnings, yellow cards, dangerous riding, abuse of the horse have all been updated. Now,
Yes,
I'm not saying it's been updated as a result of that particular example, but that has been that process has been changed, and that's something that our administrators will always be doing. They will always be changing the rules to accommodate whatever new situation may have arisen in the last 12 months, 24 months, whatever it might be. But that doesn't mean that the people necessarily need to be vilified and to be abused online and be made, to be feeling like they are horrendous people just because they have perhaps been the topic of this conversation. So thankfully, Whipgate has been and gone, and Oliver is back in favour because he's back winning competitions, and he's patting his horses an awful lot these days and hugging them and kissing them, which is nice to see. So,
But Oliver is always actually, anybody who knows him, he is good to his horses for the most part. And I'm not going to say that I agree with what happened on that occasion at Badminton or for what you said, but he is not a terrible horseman. And I think you'd agree with me there, wouldn't you, Tappers? Like
Absolutely.
He is good by his horses.
You cannot be as successful as Oliver has been by being a mistreating horse person. We know that you have to love the horse, you have to love the animal, you have to want to be around horses and treat them with respect and give them a fantastic life. And his whole team will give those horses the most amazing care and life. So you can't be that successful without that. So sometimes the sportsman might overtake the horseman and boundaries might get pushed. Yeah, you might make poor judgments and poor decisions in the heat of the sport, but that occasionally happens, and then, like we said, this is why the rules get changed and tries to guide the riders to always do the best, even when in the heat of the situation. So some of the other things that came out of the FEI General Assembly and all of these new rules that we have to cope for in our new sport, okay, ongoing, and I think now finally, maybe, is the flag rule. So the new final updated, you can know where this is going, rules for the flag rule has been released and defined and put out there. Now, I know it's something that we've discussed numerous times before, and indeed on the last podcast, not you and I, Liz, but episode 560, they discussed the flag rules. Go back even further. So get on your Horse Radio Network website. Go back to episode 546, and we have Harry Mead on there again talking about the flag rule. It's the issue that just won't go away. But indeed, it is actually now been defined about what the rule is. And now, Liz, you're a high performance person. You're out there getting between those flags all the time. Have you learnt the rules? Have you read the definition?
Well, I feel like I spend my life reading all the different definitions. Look, am I aware of the latest? It's hard to keep up because I feel like it changes all the time. But it certainly was.
Educate
it's been a big issue. But please tell me because I don't want to get in trouble and get 15.
All right. So the most recently revised, as in November 2019, the revised version of the FEI's much debated flag rule regarding missing flags is adopted by the General Assembly. So clear, 0 penalties. The horse is considered to have cleared the fence when the head, the neck, and both shoulders of the horse, but to the point of the front of the saddle, pass between the extremities of the element or the obstacle as originally flagged, keyword originally flagged, and the hindquarters of the horse jump the dimensions of the fence. Okay. So the hindquarters have to get a height of the fence, but they don't have to be inside the flag.
Okay.
So this is a bit of a blend between the original intention of the rule, where the horse's head, neck, and shoulders had to go through the flag. But the hind legs now, instead of, we had that case where Stuart Tinney, the head, neck, and shoulders went through the flag, but the hindquarters didn't even remotely try and jump the jump. And he literally, did a sideways flop through the flag.
Yes.
Well, now it's saying the hindquarters of the horse jump the dimensions of the fence. So they jump the height and the width of the fence. Okay, so as long as the horses actually seem to go up in the air, even if the hindquarters are not inside the flag, but the head, neck, and shoulders are to the front of the saddle, then you're okay. All right?
And what about the front legs? So they're not mentioning that. So if the horse were to say, leave leg on the fence, the front half go? What if one of the legs kind of swings out past the dimensions of the jump? Is there any
No,
or is it purely just the head, neck, and
see,
shoulders?
See, you should have got involved in this debate earlier, Liz, and you could have made it all clear. There's no mentions of the horse's front legs, so there's or nor the hind legs. It's just saying hindquarters, and shoulders. All right, so you've missed the flag, and you get 15 penalties. When the horse is considered to have missed the flag, if part of the horse's head, neck, or shoulder to the point of the front of the saddle jump outside the extremities of the element or the obstacle as originally flagged, but the hindquarters must jump the dimensions of the fence. So you've jumped both front legs and hind legs, using our terminology, has to jump the dimensions of the fence, but any part of any shoulder or any part of the head or the neck is on the wrong side of the flag, 15 penalties. But you've jumped the height. Yep.
So if you've straddled the flag, for instance,
correct, 15.
That's not going to be considered a run out. It's just 15 penalties.
Exactly.
Okay.
So next one, 20 penalties. A horse is considered to have run out and got 20 penalties if it was presented at the obstacle and it avoids the obstacle in such a way that the head, neck, and both shoulders fail to pass between the extremities of the element or obstacle as originally flagged, or the hindquarters have not jumped the dimensions of the fence. Continue on course with incur elimination. So let's say the horse is trying to run out. You pull the horse's head and neck through the flags, but the horse's feet never leave the ground, and especially the hind legs never leave the ground. Even though you've got the horse's head and neck snaked through the flag, that's 20 penalties. You've had a run out. Yeah. So
well, I think this is, look, this will continue to be an issue because it's always down to the discretion a little bit of the grand jury and the judges. But the things are, we do now have cameras on all of these fences. And what I like about this rule is it is defining how the hind legs, as long as the hindquarters have jumped the dimensions of the fence. So for instance, there have been certain occasions where the horse left a leg at a corner, genuinely tried to jump the fence, succeeded in jumping the fence, but because they'd left a leg, the hindquarters had skewed off to the side, which is purely just physics. It's the horse trying to right himself and not fall. Where I felt, there probably shouldn't have been a 15 penalty rule because the horse genuinely made every effort and did clear the dimensions. So from that side of it, I think this is better. But look, it's always going to be difficult, isn't it? There's always going to be the debates, and it is difficult in our sport because there are so many people that want to enjoy eventing that don't know the intricacies of the rules. I mean, geez, if we as high-level riders struggle to understand them, I'm sure that the average spectator is going to have trouble understanding it. So have they said anything, Tappers, about when and how they're going to be awarding these 15 penalties? Because I think one of the toughest things lately is that there have been riders who've been considered clear and then much later on were given 15, or vice versa, were given 15 and then subsequently eliminated.
Because actually that's the whole concept of this is that, there was riders finishing courses at Badminton and Burghley thinking they'd gone clear only to be eliminated for jumping the wrong side of a flag when they'd clearly jumped the jump but perhaps got the flag a bit wrong. So, this is the whole reason that they said, well, it's fairer to award them 15 penalties when they've most definitely jumped the jump, but just perhaps got a bit offline and knocked the flag in a way that you really can't call it clear. So they've taken away the elimination, and so that process will still happen. There's still going to be video reviews possible, but that process, there's an enormous amount of technology and innovation going on at the moment. And I was part of a trial at, or I've seen the results of a trial at PO, 5-star just recently. We are trialing different technologies for Event Rider Masters, and certainly I'm hoping to let you in on some innovations early next year of what we will be doing in video replay and in real time. We've already incorporated video replays of 15 penalty rules into our live production so that by the time the ground jury is watching that whilst the next rider is on course, and by the time the last rider is finished, they've already made all of those 15 penalty decisions. There's no waiting around dark nights late on a Saturday or a Sunday night trying to figure out the results. We don't want that to be happening, and certainly that with Event Rider Masters is something we're working towards, along with keep going with those video reviews. Is the technology of, there's a company that was at PO that was analyzing the percentage of the horse that passed it between the flag. So it is actually using AI machine learning to analyze the video picture and send it back to them in real time, and judging whether it's percentage-wise, how much percent is inside the flag and outside the flag, and giving it a green flag or a red flag depending on whether it was clear or not, or a yellow flag if it was undecided. So, there's technology like that, and we've got our own little idea of how we're going to do it for Event Rider Masters with some cool graphics. Bring into that now the new rule, the 4-star championships and higher level events, that if you have a flying change that varies by 3 points or more between any judges, then the ground jury have to do a review of the official video as soon as possible after the test of the rules. So again, in Poe, with our production company, the same production company we use for the Masters, we were trialing a system of how we were going to do that as part of the review process, and indeed it happened in every session of dressage. The ground jury had to come and re-watch those flying changes.
And then scores will be changed, will they?
Scores have to be changed. Yes,
wow,
absolutely.
That's great.
They have to be changed.
That's excellent.
Because if there is a mark varies by 3 points or more between the judges, if somebody's giving them a 7 and somebody's giving them a 3, somebody's made a mistake. You can't have a flying change that's worth a 7 and a 3 from just because you're watching it from a different angle. It's either a 7 or it's a 3. Okay, you might think, well, no, I think it's a 6 because of so-and-so. No, I think it's an 8 because of so-and-so. All right, there might be a difference there. But actually, every single time that they had to review it, one of the 3 judges had to change their mark because they were able to say, yes, my mark was wrong because now on this video review.
Because now I can see it actually was clean, and maybe it wasn't a good change, but it was clean, so therefore it should be a 5, not a 3, or something like that.
Exactly. And interestingly, it was the same flying change in the same movement. In movement 21, it was the same movement every single time. It was the one flying change that some of the judges can't see.
Interesting.
And we made sure we had our camera positions correct so that we could get that. So things like that.
This is excellent.
Evolving our sport and getting the video replay. And although the FEI have started to embrace video judging, there's a whole host of rules that haven't been created that will need to be created in the very near future.
So what I think is great about this, Tappers, is, especially going back to this flag ruling, is what I hope from the way I've just listened to you explain this and how the ruling works now, is that number one, as a rider, you should have a pretty good idea whether it truly was a run out, because, as riders, when you have that tricky jump at a skinny, I'm sure you were the same, you're pretty switched on to, right, where is the flag?
Yeah.
Where is it? And you can, if you've had both shoulders and legs outside the flag, it's a run out. So, and then if you have chosen to carry on, I'm hoping that this is now in a defined way where it can be reviewed quickly and you can be pulled up on course. Is that the idea? So that the horse does not complete the event.
You won't be pulled up on course.
You won't be pulled up. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
You'll be awarded the 15 or the 20 penalties, and you might not necessarily know that until you get to the end. But either way, that shouldn't mean you need to be pulled up unless the 20 penalties is a cumulative and you're being eliminated for cumulative refusals. Then yes, absolutely, you will get pulled up. But
do you not think it would be better for the horse, or are we just saying now the rider should clearly be able to determine that themselves? There shouldn't be.
No, I think the rider has to make.
At the end of the day, you have to be the grown up and make that choice.
The rider will make their decision, and then the rider will then have to argue their point. If they don't, if the judges make a different decision, well then in arbitration afterwards, the rider will have to argue their point, won't they? You have to.
Yes.
You have to stick by your own decision. But like you say, because of the ruling, where it's the head, neck, and shoulders.
Yeah.
It's in front of the rider should actually be able to see whether they are on the correct side of the flag or not.
Yeah. So we shouldn't have that as many of those occasions where, it's 15, it's elimination, and that suddenly changes later in the evening. It should be easier to have it one or the other. We hope. Correct. We hope.
Indeed, we do hope. But this, like we said at the beginning, it's the issue that just won't go away. Indeed. So hopefully it has gone away, and these rules will make it all good, and we won't be discussing this anymore.
The Eventing Riders Association of North America is the collective voice of riders, equine professionals, and owners in pursuit of enhancing the growing sport of eventing in North America. In cooperation with our members, governing bodies, related committees, and organizers, ERA of NA works to improve the overall welfare, safety, visibility, and growth of the sport. ERA of NA. Your voice matters for the sport of eventing. Jump in and engage by becoming a member today. Find them online at www.eraofna.com.
Joining us now on the Eventing Radio Show is the newly named USEF Managing Director of Eventing. It's Jenny Autry. Welcome to the show, Jenny.
Hello. Thanks for having me, guys.
So, Jenny, we wanted to get you on the show because obviously the eventing season is winding down. We've just had our last events of the season all over the USA in various different places. And it's been a big year for you. You've taken over as USEF Managing Director of Eventing. It's been a big step forward from your large title at Eventing Nation. And we just also released the high performance training lists. There's been a lot of things changing lately, hasn't there?
Yeah, it's been something of a whirlwind, and I feel like now I'm about 4 months into the job, so had more time to wrap my brain around it all. And of course, getting the training list out is a big deal because it means that we are now officially focused on horses that are going to be duking it out for Tokyo next year. So it's definitely an exciting time for US eventing, and it really doesn't feel like much of an off season at all, does it? Because we're all so geared up for next season already. But I suppose we have a tiny bit of downtime before we really get rolling next year. But yeah, we're thrilled. We're excited about this list, and it's definitely going to be an exciting year as we count down to the Olympics.
So, Jenny, there's been a few changes here and there, and I know that you and Eric and all of the high performance team are working hard to sort of keep tweaking the program and keep making things better and better. Can you just fill us in on a few changes when going forward with this new high performance list? There's quite a few riders on the list now, aren't there?
Yeah, definitely. So the elite and pre-elite list went from 10 horses up to 16, and the idea was that, we really have a number of combinations who have showed strong form through the second half of the season and really could step up to be Tokyo contenders next year. So I think it's great. It creates competition amongst the riders. It's going to really push everybody to really bring their A game to the forefront next season in the spring and show who's ready to step up to perform at the Olympic level. So I think it's a great group. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is this list isn't just about Tokyo. We're also building a program for the future as well. So you have some younger horses on here who are going to be horses more for Petone in 2022 and even Paris in 2024. So, of course, we're super laser focused on Tokyo next year, but it's also always in the back of our minds about building a program for the future and those future championship teams as well. So I think it's going to be a really exciting spring as we see who's ready to step up, who's ready to stake their claim and say that they're ready to go to Tokyo. So it's definitely going to be a nail biter in the spring. And Kentucky, the Land Rover Kentucky 3-day event will be one of our 3 remaining selection trials. So all of the selectors will be at Kentucky. And then we also have badminton horse trials and the Jersey Fresh International 3-day event, which are on the same weekend in 2020. So those 3 selection trials are the ones that are remaining. So it's getting close, but there's still a lot of time left as far as people to show that they're ready to step up.
Indeed. It's all about doing well at those particular competitions that you mentioned there, Jenny. So all focused on that and getting your riders to understand that they have to focus on that. And, do you put them under pressure and really explain to them that, look, you have to perform at these events? Or is it a little bit like, well, if you're qualified and you're doing well at lots of other events, or how does that work from the rider's point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. Tappers, it's a huge emphasis that Eric Javander has put on decreasing the number of selection trials so that we can have all the riders competing against each other. So that's part of why we have fewer selection trials in 2020, is so that all the riders can really be performing and showing who's the best competing against each other on the day. So there's definitely an emphasis there. And when Eric started his new program, it's called the Pathway Program. We're about 2 years into it now, but really the last year it's been getting fired up. And when he started it, it was talking about a culture of competitiveness and creating that culture. And now we're really starting to talk about creating a culture of excellence. So excellence in how we perform on the day, excellence in how we conduct ourselves and the athletes conduct themselves, and really presenting to the world, who do we want to show who we are as a U.S. eventing team. So there's definitely an emphasis on that as well. And I think when you look at Tokyo, we're potentially facing some of the most challenging conditions in an Olympics of our time, between the logistical challenges and the climate. You need athletes who not only are going to be able to perform on the day, but who can show that they're mentally strong and mentally tough as well. So I think having those fewer selection trials is really going to put everybody in a place where they have to step up and show that they can perform under that pressure, because it's only going to be even more of a pressure cooker once we get to Tokyo, of course.
Indeed, yeah. So you're actually saying, look, guys, this is the day you need to perform on. You need to perform your best on this day. There is no other option, because that's what's going to happen when you're at the Olympic Games. You have to say, this is the day you got to perform on. So show us what you've got, type of thing. So, and does that mean that the team will almost sort of decide itself? I mean, you mentioned that there's going to be selectors at those events, but is it purely results based on those high pressurized events and those key events? Or is it, a slightly bigger picture? Maybe one horse might have an off day on one particular event, but actually you think it's still suited to Tokyo.
Yeah, of course. And there are other factors that play in, and we have our selection procedures published that list all of those other factors. And of course, it's not just the results. Like I said, it's also athletes and their, mental and physical fitness. We have that written into the selection procedures as well. So it's definitely more of a holistic view as far as which horses and riders are going to be able to perform the best on the day in Tokyo. And of course, as we know, with the new Olympic format, having the 3 riders and no drop score, it's going to be extremely critical to choose the right combinations. And of course, that's not my job. That's the selector's job. But it's about really pushing everyone to be their best and driving them. And I think we have, like I said, a fantastic group of riders. And the other thing to really keep in mind is that there could be other combinations who aren't on this training list, who step up in the spring and put their hand up and say, hey, don't forget about me. So we want to make that clear as well, that combinations can come from outside this training list as well. It's not like the team will solely be built from who is on this training list. So it really is, again, it's about creating that competition and really pushing everybody to step up and be the best on the day.
So Jenny, we're now in November. It's the day after Thanksgiving, and it still feels like, for me, I'm already getting primed up and thinking about things, but then I'm not very good at slowing down anyway, so I guess that's normal. But we're soon going to be at the USCA convention. It is a requirement for all of the high performance listed riders to be present in Boston. You've changed the system around, so we have pretty much a full day of high performance meetings. Some of those will be closed, some of them will be open. And then, of course, there's some new plans in place for next year, as far as I'm aware, maybe some training camps and various things. Looking ahead to all that, where are things kicking off with at the USCA convention? What will be the prime focus, looking forward to next year? Because I know, Eric's always trying to change things up and make sure that we're all training together and under pressure together a bit more. So, just tell us a little bit about how we're looking at going forward early in 2020.
Yeah, definitely. We really want to use the convention to set the tone for the following year. So it's going to be talking a lot about Eric's vision for next year and updates to his strategic plan, which he and I have been working on a lot for the last few weeks, and we'll have that ready to roll out there. But it's really, again, building on his original vision for the program, which is key factors to look at, like planning, talent identification at all levels, including development and eventing 25, and then targeting our resources through benchmarking and accountability. So when we give grant money, we now have a very comprehensive preparation interview where we set target scores and really map out what goals we want each athlete to be achieving at those competitions. And then we also have a comprehensive review process after the competition to analyze what happened and talk about the key takeaways to take away. So it's a much more holistic approach when it comes to those resources and the grant money, but also just performance in general and really getting the athletes to analyze their performance on a deeper level. So it's going to be talking about that at convention. And then we hope that that's going to set the tone for next year, that everyone really needs to be thinking about how they can get better. And, maybe you can't shave 5 marks off your dressage test, but maybe you can shave 1 or maybe you can shave 2. And it's things like that that are going to make the difference between winning medals in Tokyo. So really getting everybody, focused and in that performance space so that they can start thinking about being able to deliver the best, again, on the day at those early spring competitions, on the day at the selection trials, and then ultimately on the day in Tokyo.
Well, I have to say, it's been about 18 months or so since I've been involved in a high-performance program, but I'm impressed. I'm ready to sign back up to your high-performance program. Well, I mean, how do I get in? Oh, that's right, I can't.
You need an American passport for starters.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Sorry about that, and I'm too old and fat these days anyway. But, that's a very, very insightful listening to you there, Jenny. And I'm just thinking that you and Eric seem like the absolute formidable team, and what you've suddenly, I say suddenly, it's not suddenly, of course, but what you're creating here and going to, like you say, launch at the conference. And I mean, I want to come to the conference. I've heard about this eventing conference, this new US eventing conference for years, and I've always thought it's just this most amazing, great idea and concept, and you keep developing it and building it. And now I've just listened to you, and I want to go again. Now I really do want to go and experience it. And I'm thinking of all these ideas we should be stealing for the UK and indeed Australia. But it's like I say, it seems like you guys are making a formidable team there, and it's not just you and Eric. I mean, obviously there's lots of other executives. So as well as the riders, of course. But you mentioned something really interesting at the beginning there, when you yourself, and I want to talk about you for a little bit now, is that you've made this transition from being mostly, I'm going to say mostly because I'm sure there was lots of other things going on, a journalist into now being an executive. And you mentioned that there's no off-season for you. You're carrying on. And actually for the riders, there is an off-season. They are switching off. They're all on holidays. They're all trying to not think about eventing too much at the moment, or at least in Europe and that. But you, like you say, this is your busy time. You're full on into the planning. So just tell us a little bit about personally for yourself, how's that change been from a very well-known journalist to now probably even more super well-known executive?
It's definitely been an interesting transition. And again, I feel now that I'm more settled into the role, but it's definitely been something where I've had to completely shift the way that I look at the sport and think about the sport and interact with the sport, really. But I think part of my career, a huge part of my career, was covering the U.S. eventing team and telling the team's story over the last, 6 to 7 years. And now to be on the other side of the fence and being able to help shape the story from that side is fascinating and something that drives me every day. So yeah, there's not an off season, but I'm not very good at sitting still anyway. And the work drives me, the hustle drives me. I mean, I think anybody who's involved in the sport has to love the hustle, and I definitely do. And so being able to be a part of rebuilding this program with Eric is it's a huge honor. And I think one of the things that drives Eric and I is building a program that people want to be a part of. And that's something that is a huge focus for me every day.
Well, Jenny, I was just going to say that I think one of your very first team trips after you took over this role was to Buccolo, where we had a good team of riders, but we had 50 American supporters there between owners or lots of owners, everything. And my goodness, it was a serious task for you to take on to help manage all those people and make sure that they had a wonderful time as well. And I have to say you did a great job, and my owners had a wonderful time, and I think everyone did. But you certainly got yourself thrown in at the deep end with such a huge crew of people. And I'm sure you came away from that needing a really good sleep. But did you ever find yourself thinking, what have I gotten myself into? Or did you just pull up your socks and think, this is it and I'm ready?
I think I'm the type of person who prefers to just jump in feet first, and then the rest will sort itself out after. I think what was so energizing about Buccolo was having 50 American owners and supporters there who all believe in Eric's program and want to see this country back on the podium. And that's the type of energy and positivity that we really want to keep building on. And we want people to be a part of it. We want everyone to be a part of it, not just the owners and not just the supporters, but the fans and all the stakeholders across the board. We want everyone to feel invested and like they're a part of getting this team back to winning medals again. And so I thought Buccolo was a great first team trip for me. It was a fantastic group of riders, and it's definitely, again, something to build on. And I think every step that we continue to take, convention will be another step to build on. We'll do our training camp in Wellington in January, or the end of January, beginning of February. That'll be something to build on, and we'll keep building. And piece by piece, we're going to rebuild this program, and that's the way that we're approaching it. It's methodical, and it's going to work. That's absolutely what drives us every day.
Well, you sold it to me already. Like you said, you want to make a system that everybody wants to be part of. I already said I want to be a part of it. So I suspect you are succeeding. And what's the benchmark going to be? What sort of medals, what colors and how many are you expecting in Tokyo? Because clearly you don't do this planning for no reason whatsoever.
Right. Well, the goal is a team medal at Tokyo. We've not put a color on it, and then a team and an individual medal at 2022 in Protoni. So that's what we're saying. And again, everything that we're doing is going to be geared around that. So we are going for a medal in Tokyo, and I hope that everyone who's listening will cheer us on all the way.
So one medal of any color in Tokyo, that's the aim. Then the box will be ticked. So if you achieve over and above that, an individual and a team, then, or two individuals or something of the kind, then you're over delivered.
Yeah, then we'd be flying, indeed.
Be flying. Fantastic. Well, Jenny, thank you very much for your time on the Eventing Radio Show and taking out some time out of your busy schedule to tell our listeners all about your fantastic plans for the US High Performance Eventing Program.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Eventing Riders Association of North America podcast.
You can learn more about Eventing Riders Association of North America at eraofna.com.
Find all the links to today's guests and topics at eventingradio.com. Follow Eventing Radio on Facebook. Just search the Eventing Radio Show, and we are on Twitter at Eventing Radio.
You can, of course, listen to Eventing Radio anytime, anywhere with the free Horse Radio Network app for iPhone and Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. You can also subscribe via iTunes. I'm Liz Halliday Sharp, and you can follow me on Facebook, Liz Halliday, on Twitter at Liz Halliday, and on Instagram, Liz Halliday Sharp, and also on our website, hseventing.com.
And I've been Tappers in Your Ear, and I'm on Instagram at Tapner Eventing, on Facebook, Tapner Eventing Team, and on Twitter, Tapner Eventing. Thanks for listening.